Hello, I'm Dr. Scott Watier.
And I'm Tommy Welling, and you're listening to the Fasting for Life podcast.
This podcast is about using fasting as a tool to regain your health, achieve ultimate wellness, and live the life you truly deserve.
Each episode is a short conversation on a single topic with immediate actionable steps. We cover everything from fat loss and health and wellness to the science of lifestyle design.
We started Fasting for Life because of how fasting has transformed our lives, and we hope to share the tools that we have learned along the way. Hey everyone, welcome to the Fasting for Life podcast. My name is Dr. Scott Watier, and I'm here as always with my good friend and colleague Tommy Welling. Good afternoon to you, sir.
Hey Scott, how are you?
Doing fantastic, my friend. Excited for today's conversation. We are going to be getting into a really fun topic today. I'm excited to break it down. We're going to apply it to a fasting lifestyle as the holiday season is upon us. And the main concept for today, to give you a little leader into it, is the reason you keep falling off is because your habits are set up for the good days. Wow. Can't wait to break that down with you. We'll give you some holiday guidance as well. If you are new to the podcast, thanks for listening in. Thanks for giving us a shot and adding us into your fasting lifestyle. You want to know more about our journeys? Head back to episode 1 and episode 0. Give it a listen. You'll know more about who we are and why we do what we do here at Fasting for Life. If you're a long-term listener, thank you so much for your rates, reviews, your follows, your downloads, your shares, all the messages you send us. It is truly the thing that keeps us going over the years to bring an episode to you each and every week. So Tommy, before we get into it, I want to give a shout out to one of our favorite kind of reviews, our 5-star review from Bach Family, Minnesota, that labeled their review, "Just discovered and love it."
All right. So thank you so much for taking the time, leaving a review. It says, "Just discovered this podcast. Guys, you are crushing it. Love every single episode." That's awesome. I'm curious how far in you are, or if you're starting with the most recent ones and kind of working your way backwards, because everybody has a different way to kind of go through and digest it. I really like taking something that's relevant or kind of on your mind right now, going into the catalog and then searching for that so you can get like something relevant, something that you're feeling resonates or could answer a question, give you a little more confidence right now in the moment. And then once you kind of check that box, then just going sequentially, and then whenever something strikes you as, man, I wonder if the guys have talked about this before. Yeah, the answer is probably yes.
Yes.
So go in there and then search again and kind of do that. So that's my recommendation. But keep us up to date, Bach family, and so glad to hear that you discovered it and that you're loving it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time. Yeah. And I would say go back and listen to episode 300, part 1 and part 2 as well.
Yeah.
Because we do kind of a comprehensive recap of where we've been over the last few years. So yeah, just keep us updated like Tommy said. I also want to give a shout out to the not so great reviews that we don't love from Allie Michelle T. It said, "Needs work." She gave us 2 stars. She says, "I talk too much and I constantly interrupt Tommy." But she's only on episode 53. And she can't listen to it anymore because of me. So, Allie, if you're still listening, I would encourage you to listen to more recent episodes. See if we've gotten better at it over the last 300 episodes. But if we're not the right fit, hey, sorry it didn't work out. Hope you get all of your fasting goals. And if you ever need anything, please feel free to reach out. We are absolutely here to help. So we don't only share the good ones.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
We appreciate the feedback.
Yeah, all transparency and like the good, bad, and the ugly, just like our fasting lifestyle.
Just like our fasting lifestyle.
Yeah, not every day's a 10.
Yeah, not every day. And that's a perfect segue into the conversation we're going to have today, which is the reason you keep falling off is because your habits are set up for the good days. Now, because this is what we think we need. We think we need one version of a habit. And we have this mindset, this on-off diet mentality, right? Of do it properly and perfectly or don't do it at all. Because that mindset looks like discipline, right? I'm going to do it. I'm going to crush it. It's going to be perfect. But it's really perfectionism in disguise, right, Tommy?
Wow. Yeah, perfectionism with a cloak of discipline. around it, you know. And I wore that cloak for so many years, and I mean I still do sometimes. So I love the framing of that, because having a couple of different versions of these important things that you do or you want to be doing, these action based goals, rather than so much of the outcome based goals, helps you so that you can have an A B, an a left right. When where there's a fork in the road, there's a decision to be made, or the day's not so great, or some unexpected thing kind of came up. Because I mean there were so many times where um, I would I would hinge my food choices to my exercise regimen. And so then if I wasn't able to get up, or I just didn't make it to the gym that morning, and it was like, okay, well, I'm going to go in the afternoon, I'm going to go in the evening time. That's tough, energy levels, especially when you have insulin resistance. You got weight to lose, and maybe food choices haven't been great, or you've just been eating throughout the day, like I had without fasting, not realizing that that was a big drain of my energy. Then get to the end of the day, I don't have the energy to go to the gym. So then it was like, okay, I'm going to go tomorrow. But if I missed 2 days in a row, then my food choices all of a sudden are going to be like, well, I'm really like not on the plan anymore this week, essentially. So it's not like I would just go hog wild, but the structure and the discipline like faded away really quickly. And so then food choices were kind of just neutral at that point, and probably just looking for the next opportunity to have a good dopamine hit from my food, or something like that, until I got back on track with everything, which is most likely wouldn't be until the following Monday, unless there was just some other kind of all of the stars aligned, and then get back on track midweek. So that's where I lived, with a lot of black and white kind of perfectionism. And a lot of that could have been mitigated had I had multiple levels of my actual habits and structure, and the things that I was doing, those action based goals.
And it really just speaks to the fact that your fasting schedule, your habits, what your lifestyle is set up for your good days, and not for when your life gets busy, stressful, or you get thrown a curveball.
Right.
Right. So, what we're going to do today is we're actually going to build out two versions of some of our foundational core habits that we truly believe are the foundation of a fasting lifestyle.
Mm.
So, we're going to allow you to keep momentum when things aren't perfect. And this couldn't be more of I love the idea that when we came up with this, to have this conversation smack dab in between Thanksgiving and Christmas, right?
Yeah.
This is where people will gain, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pounds. And then they spend the rest of the year trying to get it off. And then this is why the weight slowly ticks up over the years to decades.
Mm.
It happens here in the holiday season, but it's not just that holiday weight gain. It's the habits that you have going into and out of the holidays. So we want to give you this concept, and we borrowed this from Mindset in the Mess on Instagram, and I just loved it when I saw it. And it's the floor versus the full version of each habit. So we're going to build those out in just a few minutes. But what you were talking about there, Tommy, is like, why does perfectionism, or why does this mindset, this on-off, sabotage consistency? Because when we're looking at our fasting types, or adopting a fasting lifestyle, we have a PDF called the fasting types, and you've got the gratuitous grazer, the fasting freelancer, or the weekend warrior. And 60 to 70% of y'all self-identify as the weekend warrior,
Mm-hmm.
which is you're great Monday through Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, which is a considerable amount of your week.
Mm-hmm.
The halfway point of the week is noon on Thursday. And then you're restarting again on Monday, because one or two of those things kind of goes off the track, and you throw the baby out with the bathwater, just like you used the analogy or the example earlier with your exercise routine back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, there was a lot of weekend warrioring back then, for sure.
Yeah. So the mindset shift is, do it perfectly or don't do it at all. And that's just that perfectionism kind of in disguise. And then our monkey brain takes over, and we rationalize, okay, fine, I'll just start again tomorrow. But the resiliency comes from never dropping to zero, not from being perfect every day. And it's
Hmm.
the discipline of this habit formation and this transformation isn't doing more. It's just never doing nothing. So this is
Mm.
where we want to give you the permission to have some flexibility and pause this time of year to pivot with a little bit of intentional planning and still get that feeling of success, which is going to create that consistency. So you're not trying to get back on track in January with failed New Year's resolutions, but that you have some momentary maintenance or momentum as you go through the holiday season with a fasting lifestyle.
Yeah, because even as we kind of approach any given holiday, or it could be a weekend getaway, or it could be any sort of like special occasion. It could be like, hey, there's a birthday night out coming up this weekend. Sometimes that's only, one meal or a few hours, but some other times, depending on what the plans are, they could kind of they could kind of leak out into a day ahead of time, or maybe a meal or two ahead of time, and maybe it's a couple of meals afterwards as well. It could be going into the next day, or maybe I don't feel so great the day after because the meal went late, maybe there was alcohol involved, maybe it turned out to be some grazing, and so there was a high carb, high insulin intake, and then that maybe not get such great sleep, which led to feeling like I need to recover the next day because my recovery wasn't so great. Then what does that lead to? Oftentimes it leads to cravings and not so good food choices, a little harder to stick to my fasting plan, or maybe I don't have a fasting plan that day, and maybe I let go of even like my morning routine, getting in my salt and hydration, which we'll talk about. So any number of these things can kind of fall by the wayside because of how I felt from the previous day or the previous few days worth of decisions that I made. And so stringing together those wins, like you said, Scott, really just never going to zero, or really trying very, very hard to not go to zero. And then if you do for some reason go to zero, quickly getting back from there, where it's not about hitting, it's not about going for a 10, after being at a zero, but it's about quickly getting back to one or two, where I'm at least in the conversation. I'm doing something, and I know that something is meaningful. That creates a dopamine hit. That's motivating. It's protecting my mindset, and it's allowing me to get on track quickly without just being like, well, no, I just been off track. So yeah, whenever I feel like it, this is usually how we feel. I've been off track, and at some point in the hopefully near future, but at some point in the future, I'm sure I'll feel back like motivated to get back on track. Like, raise your hand if you've
Yep.
done that. That's the typical thought process whenever this happens. But it can, but to leave it up to how we feel in this moment and random chance for when the lightning in a bottle is going to strike again, and we're going to get the motivation to get back on track. The that we're just letting go of our long-term goals. Like, we're just wasting time. We're not even treading water at that point. We're just kind of throwing the time away and losing the opportunity. And then what's going to happen is, by the time the motivation strikes, we have a worse problem to fix anyway at that point. So then you kind of just get into, well, I'm just kind of gaining and losing the same pounds, or the scale's ticking up slowly over time.
Or
So
I
we can
can't get past a
absolutely.
16-hour fasting window.
Oh, absolutely. Maybe 16 hours is a dream at that point, because you've been off track and haven't set a timer in God knows how long.
So then that's speaking to this concept, and we'll unpack this and I'll explain it here. What's the full version and what's the floor version,
Hmm.
right? So the full version is when what you do on a good day, on a perfect day. You're like, boom, this is on it. I'm in it. Life's not too chaotic. I got some good sleep last night. The kids aren't too crazy. The boss isn't up my backside.
Hmm.
There's no travel for the holidays. Like, this is a good day. The floor
It's
is
perfect.
the
Yeah.
bare minimum version for the not so good days. And we just did a podcast episode where we talked about this bare minimum in terms of a fasting lifestyle, where it really comes down to the 16/8 fasting window. Like, that's the
Mm.
bare minimum,
Foundational.
because even at bare minimum, you're still going to see body composition changes over weeks to months
Hmm.
and some metabolic improvement, right? So if we're going to zoom into a day-to-day type mindset, your full is what you do on a good day. Your floor is the bare minimum version for when things get off track, curveballs come, and life's coming at you fast.
But you
We
still
say
got to
that,
check the box, right?
yeah, but you still get to build that foundational habit. Because the reality is the way we talk about this is the floor version is designed to keep the habit alive when life goes to hell in a hand bucket or hell in a handbasket or whatever the heck that phrase
Yeah,
is.
I think it's a handbasket. I've never seen either one though.
This, that's a good point.
I couldn't tell the difference.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. You guys get the point. That's what builds that true consistency. So the goal isn't perfection. It's never dropping down to zero. And we talk about this inside of coaching because every time you keep the habit alive, you tell your brain, I'm still going. And when you believe that, discipline stops feeling like effort. It becomes truly who you are. And that's what we found with Marie Spreckley and her team when she came out with that research in 2021 in terms of what they called weight loss managers. So the 5% of people that actually kept the weight off post the 2 to 3 year mark, and this is well known in the weight loss space, is that at any given time, you can lose a considerable amount of your body weight, anywhere between 10 to 15%. That's typically what's seen in the research, right? That's statistically significant. Successful weight loss. Well, they looked at these weight loss managers that were actually, that was the category of folks in the research that actually were able to keep the weight off long term post that 3 year mark. And it's that 5% rule, the 5% of people that can actually do it. And what they found was it wasn't anything like specific they were doing in their day to day. It was the fact that they had transformed, their identity had shifted to this new person doing these things that everyone else would look from the outside, looking in, would say, wow, that person's really disciplined. Well, they had a identity transformation through the process. And to get there, you need to rewire these foundational habits. And that's what we're talking about today is when we're looking at the floor is going to keep that habit alive, not allow it to drop to zero. Tell your brain that you're still going, which will eventually allow that willpower, discipline type, oh, I got to do it again. It's going to stop feeling like effort and it's going to become who you are. So discipline isn't necessarily doing more. It's just never doing nothing.
Never doing nothing. I think that's a great way to think about it. And it starts with just giving yourself permission that it doesn't have to be the picture perfect, routine, even if you have this goal of one, which I think is great, because there are going to be some days where you can do that. And there may be even a lot of days where you can do that. And that might be your getting up at 5 and going to the gym before work, or it might be the very deliberate, like, hey, I planned out my day and I know exactly how it's going to go. It might be, the fast, the fat burning fast that you want to hit, that it's just not always possible, or you're not always feeling like it's within the realm of possibility. And it's like giving yourself permission that that's okay, that's going to happen sometimes. How do I deal with it? You deal with it with the plan B that's not in the moment. It's not that you have to figure out plan B in the moment. It's that you already have this thing to default back to.
Yep.
And that's a completely different way of looking at it, because then there's much less emotion involved in the moment. Because when emotions get involved, which during times of stress, it's pretty much all emotion. Logic just kind of goes out the window, and I don't have a pre-planned thing that I'm going to do here. Then if I can have some sort of default in the moment that I've already prepared ahead of time, then my chances of actually succeeding there are astronomically higher than me figuring it out and then it's still aligning with my long-term goals.
So let's go through some of the core foundational, like fasting lifestyle habits that we talk about. And we'll give you the full and the floor version. And we want you to make your own as well, of course. But just some of the things that we see are the main movers or needle movers in terms of a fasting lifestyle. It's not just your fasting timer, right? So we've got salt and hydration, we've got exercise and movement, we've got protein intake, we've got your fasting plan, right? Like, what is your plan for this week? What's your fasting windows? What targets are you aiming for? Your fasting adherence, your sleep, and your stress, as well as the holiday kind of navigation that we're going to go through here in just a few minutes.
Okay.
So when we look at it, we've got salt and hydration. So on a full best day, you're going to want to intentionally salt and hydrate throughout the day. So you're going to be aiming for that greater than 2 grams, Redmond's, Baja Gold, Celtic, Himalayan, trace minerals, however you get that in, right? So on a good day, you're going to have that planned. You're going to measure it out. You'll do it in the morning. You'll have it before your coffee. You'll have your water bottle ready to go for work, or your Yeti or Stanley or whatever the trendy thing is these days, right? That's a good day. But if you miss that in the morning, or if the morning takes you on a ride rather than you being prepped for the morning, like it happens in our house quite often with 3 kids under 8, is simply just add a glass of water, an extra water, grab a water bottle at the gas station, like just add water in as a bare minimum throughout the day. When you think about water, get up and go act on it. Or if you don't prep everything, just make sure that you grab that first hydration with the extra element or electrolytes or salt. Make sure you at least leave the house with that one foundational. So a perfect day, you've got it all planned out. You're intentionally hit your marks. The floor day would be like, just get it in when you can, or at least leave the house with that one planned kind of hydration intention before the day gets away from you.
Or even like just grab that glass of water, just pour yourself a glass of water and have it before you have your coffee.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, that's a win. That's a vote for your fasting lifestyle right there, because you got like, wait a minute, I want the coffee. I want, or, maybe it's tea, whatever you have in the morning. A lot of times it's something warm, but you're putting the water in there as an intentional vote for your hydration for the day. Best to include some salt, like you said, but at that floor, that bare minimum, it still checks the box, and it still reminds you, and it's one of your first decisions in the morning.
The morning got away from you, grab the element packet on the way out the door, put it in your pocket. In the pocket that you carry your phone in, right? So when you reach for your phone, oh yeah, there it is. Boom,
There
done.
it is. Yep. Yeah, that's a good one.
So full versus floor. Let's go to exercise.
Okay.
So in an ideal full day, you would have some form of either, 30-minute walk, ruck, some form of resistance training to building muscle tissue, some form of HIIT training, right? To really, we're talking about, overall health and longevity here, not just fasting.
Yeah.
So this is the exercise, right? All right, well, I plan to do it in the morning, but the kids got me up. Or, I got a lunch meeting that popped up. I can't go to the gym at lunch. Whatever it is, your full best day is you hit your exercise or movement goal for that day. That's your best day. On your bare minimum floor day, Tommy, what if it was just a post-meal 10 to 15-minute walk?
Oh, and that'd be big. It'd be good for glycemic control, blood sugar control, insulin response. That it would be good. We see up to a 30% increase in insulin sensitivity post-meal just from a 10 to 15-minute walk.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, even if it took a little while because, hey, I didn't have a lot of time at lunch or whatever, but I still want to check that box. So maybe it's right after work. And, maybe you can make sure that if you have a dinner window that you carve out 10, 15 minutes. And then that's a big, did I do exercise today? I got to check the box. Yes, I love going to the gym, or I love doing the kettlebells, or, whatever it is, the wall squats, the ruck, like you said, joining a class, whatever the 10 is, that's great. But you got to have something where you can check the box and yeah, it's there. I did it, and that was important, and not any sort of regret or guilt, shame associated with, man, I missed my workout again today. Like, no, you didn't. You did the thing that was possible on the day that it was possible. Because you know what you could have done? You could have done absolutely nothing.
And that's why right here next to me in my office, I have a little walking pad and a weight vest.
Yeah.
So if something comes up and I normally I don't get my walk done in the morning for whatever reason, we stagger it throughout the day. My wife and I will do with our kids, in our schedules, we'll work out in the morning, or at least get some movement and sunlight in the morning. So I'll just open up the windows right here, stare outside, walking pad. If I can only get 10 minutes in between my calls, it's better than nothing. It's like, oh, hey, I didn't do nothing today. I actually still did something.
Yeah.
And this is where I think of Jocko Willink talking about the donut tastes good, or that one workout, it doesn't matter.
I can skip it.
I can skip it, right? So movement, right? That's your full day versus your floor day. Now let's talk about protein intake, Tommy. So we always talk about a 40% protein goal during your nutrition window, because we want to, fasting protects lean muscle tissue by the increase in growth hormone. And we also want to make sure that we're getting quality protein in to stimulate lean muscle tissue growth, which is the accelerator to fat loss and weight loss sustainability long term in terms of keeping the weight off long term, that body composition change, right? We
Hmm.
want to burn fat, we want to build lean muscle. How do we do that? Well, we prioritize protein. It's also the most satiating macronutrient compared to carbs and fat that's out there, right? So on your perfect day, you have your meal planned, you've got your 40% protein target, that's your full day. But
Hmm.
let's say you get invited to a lunch, or the schedule changes, or the football practice gets canceled, or whatever it is that happens. And now you're like in this freelancing, I got to figure it out on the fly. And you got to maybe get food out versus food at home, right? Then, or you
Hmm.
forgot your food and now you're into the wild for the day. And you're like, I was going to eat lunch today. That was part of my fasting plan.
Hmm.
So the full day is, hey, I've got my meal, I've got it, everything's perfect, I got my protein, done. The floor, the bare minimum, would be simply add an extra serving of protein to any meal that you get.
Mm. Yeah. And starting with it, like prioritizing it on your
Yeah.
plate, that's going to help you. That's going to help the protein macronutrient calories start to kind of take over naturally some of the carbohydrate calories, which means, like you said, you're leading to more satiation, more feelings of fullness, more thermic effect of food. So you start to, raise that body temperature, raise that metabolic rate a little bit because of the thermic effect of protein. And then also, you're sending good physiological signals that help support your previous fast and your next fast as well. So protein is like, it doesn't happen by accident, but metabolically it's optimal. It's the optimal macronutrient.
Yep. So let's talk about your fasting plan.
Okay.
So we always talk about this. Put some intentionality into your week, right? Take 5 to 10 minutes. I do a 15-minute little debrief every Sunday night where I'm just setting up my week. I'm checking my calendar. My wife and I have already talked either on Saturday or earlier that day on Sunday. We do a little weekly 45-minute to an hour meeting every week to make sure that the kids' field trip, the holiday schedule. Oh, there's a holiday. The kids are out of school today. What's going on? So we put our plan in. The weeks that we don't do that, or we are just like, that's okay, we got it, and we do it on the fly, those weeks are always more stressful,
Right, of course.
right?
So many
So
decisions, decision fatigue kicks
too
in
many
too.
decisions, right?
Mhm.
So same thing with your fasting. So we say plan out your week. So in a perfect full plan, if you're looking at a course of a week, have your fasting plan, write it out with your pivots, right? With your non-negotiables. We talk about this, with your date night, with your holiday party invitation, with your lunch meeting, with whatever it is, with your daddy and daddy daughter donuts morning at school, whatever it is, right? So you have it completely laid out. But if you're going through the week and you feel like, uh-oh, I'm off track already and it's only Tuesday, then what we want you to do as a floor bare minimum from a scheduling planning perspective is simply just plan the next 24 to 48 hours.
That's a great way to think about that.
Zoom in.
Yeah. Because that's usually possible, even if it feels like there's a whole lot of moving parts. I can't go multiple days beyond this. I just don't know, or it's outside of my control right now. That's fine. Just take a deep breath. Remember that having the floor of what you're going to do is 1,000 times better than just trying to figure it out in the
Yep.
moment. Plan for that next 24 to 48 hours, like you said, and it's going to be so much easier to stick to something that makes sense. And it doesn't have to be the perfect plan either. But when you have some sort of semblance of structure and stability going into the next couple of days, it leads to just so many better decisions because you already have that, and it doesn't feel like you're just figuring out everything. Once you say I'm going to figure it out in the moment, you kind of start to try to figure everything out in the moment, which means my morning routine goes by the wayside, my hydration and salt supplementation goes by the wayside. Like everything just kind of starts to just dissolve after that if you're not careful.
And my wonderful wife, Megan, struggles with this. So she's working on a new program for her fertility work that she does.
Hmm.
And then she also was training for a high rocks. And then she also has horseback riding. She's an eventer, so she's training for that. Then she also loves doing CrossFit, and she also loves riding the Peloton. And
Yeah.
the other day we were having this conversation. She's like, "Yeah, we're going to bed early tonight, and if we're not in bed by 9:30, lights off by 10, then something's wrong in the Watier household." And she was like, man, tomorrow morning I want to do all three. And I was like, well, you can't. So which ones are you going to choose? Right. So you have to have some intentionality and prioritization.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't sleep good last night. Okay, maybe I won't do the CrossFit, but I'll do this instead. So it's like we get too many we get too many decisions, so then we just get paralyzed.
Right.
Especially when it comes to a fasting decision. You're like, oh, I'm going to do a 72-hour fast. Then the next thing you know, you're eating dinner that night, and you're like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah. And then you're like, oh well, okay. I'll just try it again next time. But that you're also losing that trust and confidence in yourself every
Yep.
time you do that, and like it's changing the plan. It'd be better to set the shorter plan, stick to it, and then hit it. And then now you're building that trust and confidence. You can always increase it from there, right?
Yep. And let's talk to because that kind of transitions right into what we call like the fasting adherence, like your
Hmm.
clean windows, opening your window, having a good nutrition window, and then closing your window cleanly. When you're starting or trying to keep momentum, especially around the holidays, there's going to be a lot more room for opportunity that sneaks in. And it's harder to stay consistent or stick to it if you've been off or kind of been fasting intermittently. See what I did there, where you're kind of
Hmm.
on one day, off the next day?
Sporadically, I like to say.
So a full best day is you stick to your plan. When are you going to break your fast today? When are you going to close your window? Boom. That's your full best day. If you have 100% to give on a day and you give 100%, great. If you only have 50% to give on a day and you give all 50%, guess what? You gave 100%.
Hmm.
So on your floor day, your bare minimum day, achieve a minimum 16-hour fast and don't eat after 8.
Simple.
Simple. All right, today didn't go as well. Well, you know what? I'm going to close. I'm going to make sure my window doesn't go past 8 hours, because we just talked about that on that recent episode that I alluded to earlier, about that being like the baseline for a fasting lifestyle.
Yeah.
And don't eat after 8, because we know insulin sensitivity, sleep disruption, which we'll go into sleep in just a minute, is going to make the next day that much harder.
Oh yeah.
Anything else to add on the fasting kind of adherence, opening, closing windows, Tommy?
No, I think that on the stick strictly to your fasting plan for a full best day, that could include your long-term goals, whether that's, you're at a long-term maintenance point, or if you're in a fat loss phase and you need to have some more fat burning hours, then that's part of your fasting plan for that given week. So sticking strictly to what that is based on your long-term fasting goals. And then on the floor side, 16-hour fast and not eating after 8 p.m., it's like pulling that off. Like if you just choose ahead of time what your 8-hour nutrition opportunity window is going to look like for the next day, regardless of how many moving parts you have going on, how many opportunities or whatever the case may be, you can almost always find a way to do that. Like if we're really being honest with ourselves, the only time when it really feels like that's hard is because we're just not doing any sort of planning ahead of time. So just a couple of minutes and going, okay, what is it going to be? It's going to be from this time to this time. Okay, I can stick with that. I like it. I know I'm going to feel better. I know sleep is going to be better. And then it's going to be that much easier to set the next fasting timer after that. It could be another 16-hour fast after that, or you feel a little bit stronger, a little bit more disciplined. Maybe it's a 17 or an 18 or a 19-hour fast the day after that. But you don't have to figure it out right now, because this is the floor goal is just planning for the next 24 hours or so here, right? And then you can do it again tomorrow. But this is so much different from just going, yeah, I'll just figure it out this week. No, you probably won't, unfortunately.
Yep. And that's the reality of it, which is what we don't want it to become
Hmm.
zero doing nothing. We want your floor, right? Your floor day to be just achieve a minimum 16-hour fast. Don't eat after 8. Let's keep it simple,
Yeah.
right? If you're looking for like how to ramp back up or some ideas on fasting schedules, you can head to the show notes, click the blueprint to fasting for fat loss. We'll send it to you via email. It's a free 20-page PDF. It's got some schedules in there. And then stay tuned. We got another challenge coming up the second half of late January, which will be our first challenge of 20. I can't believe I'm going to say this, of 2026. It's amazing how fast time is going.
I know, right?
All right, 2 more. We've got sleep and then holidays. So we're going to give you some best practices around the holidays as well. Sleep is a big one. And we know that a poor night of sleep can decrease your blood sugar management and flexibility and insulin sensitivity the next day 30 to 50%. So you're going to have more cravings, feel more tired, have more brain fog. Your willpower will be lower. because your physiology underneath the surface has changed, where it's not as adaptable to the environment when it comes to our food choices and the food that we do end up deciding to break our fast with. So sleep is huge. So on a full day, sleep prioritization is key. 7.5 hours. That's your goal. On a floor day, if you're up scrolling or wrapping gifts or booking flights or whatever it is, don't go below sleep minimum. The floor is 6.5 hours. The caveat is when you have the less sleep on your floor bare minimum day, increase your hydration the next day, which was the first thing we talked about. Be intentional with it, and a little additional movement. So go for an extra walk, get outside, do something easy, even if it's just 20 air squats while you're, a couple of times throughout the day while you're at work. Because when we know sleep is poor, so the full best sleep is 7.5 hours, that's the target. Your sleep minimum, don't drop below 6.5 hours. And if you do, know that you can help the next day's willpower and fasting and blood sugar management by simply increasing your hydration and a little bit of extra movement.
Yeah, that's great. Keep it simple. Oh, we have the sleep guide on the website too, so you can download that as well. thefastingforlife.com.
Absolutely. Last one, holidays. So, holiday best practice. We're going to talk about the full ideal fasting strategy for the holidays and the floor, which is the bare minimum, where you can still stick to your fasting plan and still get results as we go through the next few weeks. So, with the holidays, the ideal best practice is a 4-hour window on any of the holidays, right? So you're compartmentalizing the consumption. You're going to prioritize protein and hydration before arriving to the Thanksgiving Day celebration or the Christmas dinner or the corporate Christmas party. And maybe they bring out some late night snacks or desserts on the menu. If you feel full and you don't want it, you do want it, but you don't want to eat it now, take it home with you. You don't have to say no to it and white knuckle you through the event and miss out on the experience, but just say no, not right now. So delay, don't deny, right, Tommy?
Yeah. Bring it into your next nutrition opportunity. And even if that was just outside of that 4-hour window, hey, I've had my 4-hour window. That's a great option. Do you mind if I just take some home with me? Everyone's usually happy to accommodate that because they don't want everything sitting around their house. There's all kinds of extras. So I think that's a great way to think about that. And if that's either it's quote unquote not possible, for whatever reason, maybe you have multiple, get-togethers, you're going to be going, around town to different places, like we do sometimes, then a good way to think about a floor, a minimum target for a holiday would be, think about it as an opportunity for a clean TMAD, a clean 2-meal opportunity, instead of grazing and, kind of becomes this throughout the day kind of thing. It's clean 2 meals, no grazing, and then also kind of brushing your shoulders off, have a mental reset, and move on, allowing that to be one day, or maybe it's a 2-day kind of holiday situation, but it doesn't have to keep going from there. So it's still compartmentalized, even if those don't feel like they were great. Maybe there's still a little bit of recovery. Maybe your sleep's not so great the next day, so you're feeling a little bit off, and so it's taking a little bit of extra time to feel like you're kind of getting back on track. Brush your shoulders off, because it's just a day or two. It's not going to add to your long-term fat stores. It's not going to make anything that much more difficult, as long as you're feeling like you get back on track quickly after that.
Yep. So I want to give an example about sleep because I forgot to. So for instance, on a full day, it would be like in bed by 10, wind down with the book. Like that's my personal experience. Bedtime between 9:30, 10, read for 10 to 15 minutes. Typically I'll do a little scripture. I'll do a book that I'm reading. Maybe I'll listen to an audiobook, and then I wind down before bed. On the floor example, like get your 6.5 and maybe you just get up and stretch in the morning, right? You're
Yeah.
adding a little bit of movement before your day begins. I
Yeah.
just forgot to mention those couple of examples with the sleep. So with the holidays, it would be like, okay, maybe you have a 4 p.m. dinner, or a 3 p.m., 4 p.m., 5 p.m. dinner. Fast until 2 or 3 p.m. that day, an hour or two before you leave. Drink water and have some protein before arriving, and then take the dessert home. In your
I
floor
like it.
example, right, is that clean tea mat. So instead of grazing, right, throughout the whole and just letting the wheels completely fall off, compartmentalize it to 2 meals, avoid the grazing, and here's the key. Don't dwell on the slip-ups if you have them.
Yeah. Even just in that avoiding the grazing, like I like to think about it as whatever I would normally feel like grazing on, let me just put it as part of my plate. So let me have it with everything else. Because if grazing can turn into, yeah, okay, I'm still kind of hungry. Yeah, I'm still hungry, and you're having all these small things. You end up with a full plate anyway, and then potentially having more small things afterwards, especially if they're carbohydrate rich, because we know that we have that second stomach phenomenon. We can always feel like more carbohydrates can come in.
Yeah,
No big
especially if
deal.
there's alcohol involved.
Oh yeah, 1,000%. And so avoiding that looks like kind of putting it together, because when you're sitting down with your actual plate and you have a good portion of protein with you, that protein helps give good satiety, hunger, fullness cues during the meal, and that's we want to leverage that, right?
Exactly. So when we talk about this concept, to go back and kind of summarize, we've got salt, hydration, movement or exercise, protein, your fasting plan, your fasting adherence, your sleep, and some holiday best practices. Set your full best day. We gave you some examples. And then make sure you have a floor, a bare minimum. You can still check the box and feel like you've accomplished something in that day.
Mhm.
Because when you truly do that, discipline stops feeling like effort. It becomes who you are. And you're still allowing yourself to keep that foundational habit alive. And that tells your brain, hey, I'm still going. I'm still moving forward. And it'll help you get off that weight loss, dieting kind of mindset that lives out there in the world, right? So no matter what life throws at you, consistency is not built by being perfect, but by always doing something, even if it's just your floor version, right? When life's going crazy, because progress is about never dropping to that zero. And this will allow you to gain consistency and feel good about your fasting efforts during the holiday season.
Awesome.
All right, Tommy. Great conversation, man. I appreciate it as always. If you're looking for resources, head to the show notes. Reach out if you got questions. And we will see you guys next week. Thanks so much.
Cool. Thank you. Bye. So, you've heard today's episode, and you may be wondering, where do I start? Head on over to thefastingforlife.com and sign up for our newsletter, where you'll receive fasting tips and strategies to maximize results and fit fasting into your day-to-day life.
While you're there, download your free Fast Start guide to get started today. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review, and we'll be back next week with another episode of Fasting for Life.